Hey there, welcome to Nanny's Notes. I'm Joe, and I talk about how to stay organized and channel your creativity to be more productive. I do this from the perspective of someone who has struggled all his life with focus and organization. This is my first Q&A and hopefully the beginning of an ongoing podcast where I get a little deeper into some of the comments and questions that are made on my videos, which I've been posting for some time. Actually, a brief history of my time doing this on social media. I started making videos on TikTok about 3 years ago. I built a tiny following and we've all made, I think, a very strong connection. And the questions started coming about my process. So I'm going to get into it with questions from you. These are from my Instagram channel, and the topic today is all about creativity and authenticity. Authenticity being a terribly overused word in social media, but we're just going to use it for now to keep things simple. So let's help each other and share some thoughts and ideas. And I will start with a question from Milo, who asks for tips for people wanting to gain a following on social media while still staying authentic. Now, I could talk about this for hours, and I'm starting with this question because it leads into the whole reason I am here. And I'm going to answer it in 3 parts. The first part is, what is your motivation? First and foremost, you have to understand why you are on social media in the first place. Like many people here, I jumped on Facebook years ago to connect and share with people I didn't see in my life on a regular basis. Friends who had moved abroad, family in different provinces, that sort of thing. And, make jokes with friends and so on. And when Instagram came along, I treated that more like a photo album of key moments and experiences in my life that I wanted to remember and share. But obviously, it could reach people I didn't know. And the following was built around a common interest. I've never pursued a personal following on Instagram, but I've always been on YouTube. It was where I shared high production value content from my personal and professional hobbies. From my professional career and personal hobbies. And it helped me reach a wide audience for like my meta and niche videos. And I absolutely love YouTube. I did feel betrayed years ago when they changed the algorithm, but here we are. And then along came TikTok. It hit during lockdown when so many of us were feeling isolated and desperate to connect with the world around us. And obviously that was very difficult when everything was shut down. So the first place we went was to that thing that was in our hands. And when I first popped on, it was purely out of curiosity. The UX and the algorithm were just like feeding content at lightning speeds. And as a creator and someone who works in marketing, it was something I needed to understand. So my point here is to actually be aware of why you are engaging with the platform in the first place. Why are you here? Understand your motivation. That's the first thing. Number 2, are you a participant or a creator? What are you bringing to the table? Are you making content or consuming it? When I first got onto YouTube, I was posting, ads I made because I wanted immediate and honest reactions to the content. And it was fantastic because work either took on a life of its own or it kind of died on the vine. And then I started making content specifically for YouTube, like short films that I had directed for very specific audiences. And it was so rewarding to react with people in real time and watch the conversations evolve and devolve in some cases. That channel still exists and it has a tiny following, and I don't really make content like that anymore because I made the work I wanted to make and I moved on. So understanding your place on the platform is paramount. And that's really my point. There probably will be a point when I move on from TikTok and I move on from Nanny's Notes. I don't foresee it in the near future, but there is a point when you have everything said that you need to say and you just, you start consuming again gleefully. And I think that's a very important distinction to make. Creator or producer or participant. And number 3, this is, how do I say this? This is really about who you are. So you understand why you're on the platform and how it performs, and you've decided you want to produce and contribute as a creator. Okay, great. Who are you? And I don't want this to get super deep. I don't want this to sound anything like an existential crisis or anything like that. But this isn't a philosophical paradox or challenge to who you are. But it goes back to the question of authenticity. You can't be yourself unless you know who that self is. And there's a big difference between who you are, who you want to be, and who you present. If you are neurodivergent, you sometimes take on a persona of what you think neurotypical people want to see. If you are dishonest, you present the opposite of what you want people to see. And if you are trying to become something different than who you are in the present, you present who you want to be in the future, or what you want to be. But let's be clear, everything is a performance. Everything is a performance. This right now is a performance. We sometimes perform to ourselves. So don't beat yourself up if you can't nail down your voice. Everything is a performance. But the intention behind the performance is what's important. If you intend to deceive, that's inauthentic. If you intend to engage and enlighten, that's positive. If you intend to proliferate yourself, mainline dopamine, get rich, and bolster your ego, well, that's something different. That's showbiz. But yeah, all of that said, I want to tell you why I'm here. Presumably from your question, you feel that there is an element of authenticity to my content, and I appreciate that. But this is a performance. This is a performance of calm and contemplation. Why? And for what purpose? I'm going to tell you. Because I am not calm and I'm not contemplative. I have anxiety. My mind is always racing. I can't sit quietly. I dwell on problems. I think about the past. I talk loud. I lose my patience. And the first time I ever turned the camera on myself, after standing behind it and directing others for years and years and years, I realized I had to slow down. I had to listen to the tone of my voice, and I had to listen to my cadence, and I had to relax just to look at myself on camera. Off camera, I'm a mess. I made a video about it. It's somewhere in my feed. You can check it out. But when it comes to the content, part of doing this was, like I said, to calm myself down, to relax myself, to make it bearable for me to look at myself on camera, to find a person that I had inside me that I wanted to be, that I knew I could be. But because of all of these other factors, I just wasn't getting there. When it comes to the content I make, that comes from a place of isolation and sadness. Surprise! No, during lockdown, I went from working at an independent agency of about 50 to 80 people, depending on the season. And it was filled with dynamic personalities and multiple projects. I went from that to working with a small group of friends and colleagues over video calls from our spare bedroom. At first, it was exciting and scary and new, and it was filled with potential. But it became clear that 90% of the people around me couldn't function outside of the structure that society had in place. It became very depressing. So I did what I had done for the previous 10 years of my life, which was to make something and post it and see if others felt the same way I did. That's what my YouTube channel was about. That's what my Instagram channel was originally about. There you go. What do you think? Do you feel like this? Because this is how I feel. Oh, you do? Let's talk. So content creation as a means of connection. That's what this was. And this time I made the most personal stuff, the most personal content I could possibly make. I tried to be honest about how I felt. Obviously, I had to consider other people's feelings, my friends, my family, my coworkers. But I got deep and I went to the heart of it. And I shared my notebooks, which were deeply personal. And I'd started sharing work before that, but without much context. I didn't know if there was a place for what I was doing on TikTok, but I felt like there should be. And the content didn't immediately connect. It took a while. I think people were expecting that I was, going to follow a certain trend, that I was going to go in, as a, notebook talk or book talk, mental health talk or whatever. But I didn't really do that. I wanted to present my whole life. And if there was something specific that people were into, then suddenly they would have context for how and why it came to be. So when it did hit, it hit deeply with certain people. My following is very small, but my engagement is frequently 10 to 18%, which is great. But what's more important to me is the comments and direct messages from people that feel seen, which makes me feel seen. And let me be crystal clear. I don't make any money from this. I never will. And to be very frank with you, I don't think my audience will ever grow past what it is now, because that's not why I'm here. I'm here for connection, not collection. And I'm not here to amass followers or become an influencer. I'm here to share, period. And when I think I've said it all, I'll be gone and on to another phase of expression, if I have another phase left in me. And here's the sad reality of any social platform. Authenticity demands exposition. You need to show all aspects of your experience. And trust me, most people do not want that. Some people want to see how I make lists, or how I organize my desk, or how I fold shirts. But the minute I talk about my struggles in any depth, they're out. That is the cost of authenticity. If you want to build a following, find something you do better than anyone else and do it over and over and over and over again until the internet is done with you. If you want to build connections with like-minded individuals and test your ideas and your opinions, do just that. But if any of the three things that I've talked about are out of alignment, you won't connect. I love making the work that I'm doing. I love making videos, seeing who's in, talking publicly about productivity and creativity from a perspective that comes with years of experience, success, and, mostly failure. And I'm grateful to have this opportunity. And if I make it look easy, that's a performance. This is hard work. If I come across as authentic, that's a performance. This is the energy I want to feel that I can't always make myself feel. So I hope that answers your question. And I hope this is the beginning of yet another exchange, a different form of expression. Like I said, I wanted to go deeper and address some of the questions and comments that were coming up in the post that I was making. And you can't really do that in a minute. You can't really do that with a comment response. So I'm going to do it this way. I got a lot of great questions. I have a lot of great comments and perspectives, and I'll be addressing them over the next few weeks. But if there's something specific that you think that this format would be good for, if there's a topic you want to hear me discuss, please leave it in DM me in Insta or TikTok, or DM me here. This is the depth I'm going to go to on these questions. So be careful what you ask. Okay, so let's run this down. Number one, what's my motivation? To connect and relate with people looking for a way to stay focused and organized. This is what I believe is the best part or the potential of these platforms. Number two, am I a participant or a creator? Well, I'm both. I consume and I create with equal enthusiasm, but I'm primarily a creator. And number three, who am I? My name is Joe, and I am a writer and creative director that struggles with focus and organization, who is sharing his perspective and experience with people who care to listen and engage. So that's it. That's my key to authenticity. And I hope this answers the question. Thanks again for listening. And if you want to see more of what I do, you can click the link in the bio. You can also contribute to any of my channels or platforms by purchasing a bookmark, which is over on my Etsy page. And the bookmark there's a big video about it, but basically I made these bookmarks to thank my followers, and I made about 200, and I didn't calculate how much it was going to cost. And yeah, it ended up costing me a lot of money. But people want to contribute, people want to help out, people want to know how they can support this and keep me making content. So that's a simple way. I sell these bookmarks at cost essentially, and whatever I make over the top of it can just help me keep going, pay for my for my Meta subscription or whatever. Yeah, and if you think that a subscription model would be interesting, or Patreon or whatever, let me know. But I want to keep it simple. And you can also buy actual pages from my notebook over on Etsy as well. And these are few and far between because I take my time and I want them to be valuable. But when those pop up, just subscribe to the shop, and I do a drop like every 6 months. Yeah. And all that, every little bit helps. So, as always, thanks for being here, and I hope to see you again, and later.